right, Councilmember Khamis.
Thank you. I appreciate that the fact that we're getting an update that you are making an effort to reach out to owners of rental property, and you had 92 successes, and I'm hoping that you have a lot more. By doing this outreach and explaining to owners, just how the system works, because I know I've talked to a lot of owners that really don't understand it, and quite frankly, a lot of people don't want to get into businesses that they don't understand. And to talk about understanding, I always talk about economics here on the city dais, and a lot of times I think that I feel like a lot of people on the dais don't necessarily have an understanding from the point of view of the business. And I know that at least I reached one person today, and I'm hoping that I can reach him again, because I think all our goals are the same. We want people to be housed. We just have different ideas on how to get there. The fact of the matter is, regulation and raising fees has never, ever worked to increase the number of housing. In fact, adding taxes, fees, and regulation is economics 101. That's the way you reduce the amount of things that, if you want to reduce something, you tax it, you put on fees, you put on new regulations. All you have to do is look at the cigarette industry. If you want to increase it, you reduce the taxes, fees, and regulations. We went through that exercise when we were talking about ADUs a few months ago. What did we do? We all agreed on ADUs, right? Everybody wants to build ADUs. So what did we do? We reduced the regulations, we reduced the fees, and we were thinking of new ways to actually incentivize ADUs. And I agreed with all of you at the time, but the same economic principles work here. In the last 5 years that I've been in office, we have regulated the heck out of the rental apartment market. We have put AROs. We've eliminated, affordable rent ordinances. Brought down how much somebody can charge on rent-controlled units. We eliminated RUBS. We added just cause. It seems like every quarter we come up with new ways to punish people who want to invest in properties, and we never look at the actual cause. All of these things, I believe, have had a negative effect on people who want to invest in property here. I think I read an article recently from the Spotlight where they cited a California study that said that besides the cost of construction, the second cause why people don't want to invest anymore in California's housing is because of all the new laws that are coming down that are regulated the rental market. And there's been lots of studies about this. You don't have to read the Spotlight. You can look at many other studies that'll tell you the same thing, economic studies. So I know that we all feel that we have to do something, and we have to do this urgently. And I know that discrimination is horrible, but I co-signed something that I thought would be a bridge from where my position is, which is do nothing and just build houses, okay, let's put on some regulations that I think would be amenable to people who own properties. But the two things that I want you to focus on here when you're making this decision to support this memo are the two major points that we try to make. This regulation, as it stands, could open up lawsuits for anybody. Nobody has to go through the housing department to file a complaint. Jackie just said so. They can go directly and file a complaint to the courts without ever going through the housing department or even getting a warning. Once we put this regulation in place, it could open up Pandora's box. Anybody who has been turned down and has a Section 8 voucher can go straight to legal matters without going through the housing department. And that's what we try to do by this cooling off period, this 30-day period. We try to throw in a way to mitigate or arbitrate this issue before it goes to the court system. There's a lot of people who make a lot of money off taking people to court, and they don't have to be They don't have to be in the right. All you have to do is file the lawsuit, and sometimes it's easier just to pay that rather than to fight for your rights. Look at all the people working on ADUs, the ADA ramps. ADA ramps it started out as a great idea. We want to help people who are disabled get up ramps. But now lawyers are all over the place abusing the system, taking people to court because there's an inch difference or something minor. And rather than fighting them, it's easier to pay them. And that's what's going to happen here. And when owners are forced to fight, their costs are going to go up, and guess who has to pay the costs? In the end, it will be the renters. It will not be the owners. I keep telling everybody this. Anytime we increase the fees, anytime we increase regulations, the owners of properties don't necessarily pay for this. It's the renters that do. And it's us, because those people who are not wanting to invest anymore won't invest in projects. The number two reason why we put this memo together is because it is so broad and expansive. It can catch a person who just built an ADU to the person who owns a 1,000-unit complex and everything in between. Somebody who rents a house, an individual house, who is not paying attention to this meeting can get caught up in this and get sued within 30 days of this passing and have no recourse. So we wanted a full time to educate these people who are now subject to a new law that, quite frankly, I think is unnecessary and unfair. But I'm willing to go along with it at this point because I think I'm hoping to bridge the divide here. And so if nothing else, we have to learn this economic lesson that we are not going to solve the housing problem with what action we're taking today. In fact, I'm hoping it doesn't exacerbate the problem, because that's what I think. Every time we pass a new regulation, it exacerbates the problem. It doesn't help the problem, because every time an investor comes in and says, oh, wow, they could change the law any Tuesday, and then my investment can go up in smoke. If you look at the statewide things that are happening, a lot of builders are doing the same thing. They're holding off on building, even though they have approved projects, because they don't know what the state legislature is going to do on rent control. And that is the thing that I'm hoping that we start focusing on. We can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. If we don't have more units, we're never going to have housing for people to use Section 8. And unless we start building, we're never going to solve the problem, and this discourages builders. That's my biggest concern with this, because I, like all of you, want to solve this housing problem. I want to get people housed, but I think this is the wrong way to go.